Who it is? It's Danny Limelight, and I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having my friend. He is a UK-based professional wrestler. He is the one, the only, Anderson North. Anderson, what's going on, my man?
Hey, I'm all good here over in sunny England. Actually has been sunny for a change today. Um, how's it going on over in LA?
It is absolutely mental. AMC is up. Just celebrated my 15th year anniversary with my wife.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I turned 36 since the last time we spoke. So, and I got
Oh,
a pug, another one. So it's just
another bug.
amazing.
You
Yeah,
can
another
never
pug.
have too many dogs. I mean, anyone who knows me personally probably would agree that I talk about dogs way too much. Aside from wrestling, talk about dogs way too much. I'm always sharing dog pictures, dog memes.
So I think that's one of the many reasons why we're friends, Anderson. Like I think
I,
we're of the same
it must
ilk.
It must be. I mean, I'll do all my stuff with wrestling, and talk about how much I'm going to kick somebody's backside or whatever, and then a couple of days ago, somebody like some of my personal accounts will share a picture of me cuddling my dog. I mean, she's an old girl now, so she's currently in like the other room asleep. So, but it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that to you, and I'm gonna be a really mean person. And then within the next breath, it's like, oh, look at me cuddling my little pooch. Um,
Yeah. Well, okay. We're gonna go.
you have muted yourself, good sir. You
I went mute. I went mute
you went
because the
mute there.
dogs are playing. But what is your favorite breed of dog, good sir?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit biased here because this is the current breed of dog that I have, and it would have to be a Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
Okay.
Um, because my dog Jojo, she's called. She's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, Staffy. And I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions with Staffies or bull breeds in general. Because I've got huge heads and massive mouths and teeth and whatnot. Whereas mine, if absolute licking machine. If you're a person, you come through the door and show even the inkling, smallest inkling of attention, that is it. You're getting fussed. The tail's going like that, and she's said a friend of mine put it the best way is that you'll never have a dry face with a Staffy because they always want to just
Oh,
give you all the licks and whatnot. But yes, that would be my favorite breed of dog. I'm guessing you're a pug man.
yeah. I'm a pug guy, and it's funny because I actually went to Vegas. I grabbed two, and I grabbed one for my brother-in-law because he was just like he saw mine and mentioned to my wife like, "Oh, whose dog is that?" or whatever, and it just made me like from where I am. Vegas is probably what like a 4 hour drive or whatever, and then
Right.
it was a 90-minute drive to get them, um, to get the pugs. So I did like almost 2 hours, of driving to get them each way. Then another 8 hours to drive him to my brother-in-law's and back. But it was all worth it because he,
Of
much like
course.
me, yeah, gets his dream dog of a pug.
Oh, it's worth it for a dog, though, isn't it? Right? Of course, it's worth it for a dog. I mean, for me,
Ye-
like the Staffy is also like a kind of good representation. Like a bull breed is a good representation of me, like wrestling wise, because they're small. Most of them are quite small, but stocky and kind of powerful. But they are just absolute sweethearts. And I mean, anyone who's met me would agree that I am an absolute sweetheart. So,
Which, okay, so if any given breed would make a good professional wrestler, what breed would that be?
I think there's a couple. that would make good professional wrestlers in like different promotions or different areas. Something like a Rottweiler or a Great Dane would probably do very well in somewhere like WWE, very big and very impressive stature. Whereas I think something like a Bull Breed, the smaller, stockier ones, would be great in somewhere like New Japan or All Japan.
I was hoping you
They
said
would,
that.
yeah, they would do very well in the like Japanese strong style. So
I was hoping that you said that. Honest to goodness, because I was just like, I'm the necks and everything like that can take a back
yeah,
suplex, probably give out a few, right? Like,
well, that's kind of like I was saying about me. I'm like I say, I'm 5'6" and by no means a tall fella, but whenever I've gone to the gym with a friend of mine or I've gone to train and wrestling, I've always been one of the things that's come up is I'm quite stocky and quite broad
yeah,
for such a short guy. So that kind of served me well with like doing lifts and slams and stuff like that because I've got like that like kind of good base. I've got a low center of gravity as well, being like quite short. But I've always had like decent like overall strength. Which partially I think comes from like I played rugby a lot when I was younger, and I've got that martial arts background as well.
right.
So that kind of helped with some like the more, especially like the holds and stuff. But in picking up slams, I mean, I've done quite a few moves for sports that have involved me getting people into like a fireman's carry position.
Yeah, you
So
really don't have to drop down that low, you know?
I remember a friend of mine, Brendan. I used to go. Well, I'd go around to his to have a couple of drinks and whatnot, and a couple of drinks will inevitably turn into a far too many drinks. I mean, I'm 33 and he's 39. We're both old enough to know better.
Yeah,
But well, obviously we
theoretically,
wake up with
in
theoretically.
theory.
But I remember one time I don't know how it got to this, but he ended up daring me like to pick him up on my shoulders on my head because height jokes came into play, me being the size of an Oompa Loompa and whatnot. This was a few years ago, and to this day he says being 5.5 feet off the floor should not be that terrifying, but for some reason it was. So it turned into quite a funny drunken story.
You know what? Drunken stories, man. I think, in this time of COVID, right? I think that's one
Yeah.
of the many things that were missed. Going down to the pub with your friends, drunk
Oh, that's it.
stories.
I mean, I'm not one of these. I don't drink like very often, but when I do, when I get together like with a friend or two, sometimes it does turn into something of a drunken story.
Yeah,
Um,
well, making up for lost time. That's what it is.
well, I had another friend of mine was messaging me a couple of weeks ago and saying, I want COVID to be over and done with, so we can have some shenanigans. Which I remember the last time we had some shenanigans. Friend's named Emma. Her and her daughter, after finding out that I've been doing wrestling and whatnot, could you pick us both up at the same time? Do you reckon? I went, I could maybe, but I've had a few, so I don't know if it's a good idea. Anyway, after about half an hour of cajoling and getting a few more, maybe a couple more pints down me, I ended up going right. Let's do this. And there's actually a picture on my Facebook of friend Emma on one shoulder and then her daughter on the other shoulder, and I'm like, on my face, I'm smiling and laughing, and in my head, I'm going, I really hope I don't fall over here.
Now for scale, right? There was in the early days of his WWE career, there was a photo circulating of one beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar, with like two cows
Brock Lesnar.
on each arm. Like, I mean, a cow on each shoulder and whatever. So for scale, this was your Brock Lesnar.
This was my Brock Lesnar moment. I'm sorry, I
Dude.
didn't pronounce his name correctly. It was Brock Lesnar. Oh, do you know what? As much as people like derided Brock Lesnar, for in the later like return part of his career for being all about the money, working part time and whatnot. I loved Paul Heyman and his manager. I'm a fan of Paul Heyman anyway, but
Yeah.
any time that Paul Heyman started talking about how amazing Brock Lesnar was, and he doesn't care about him, he's here for the money as a final, he absolutely did his job perfectly, and that got you to hate him, hate Brock Lesnar, get the fans just absolutely screaming from the show, and for me, he did absolutely perfect, and that's one of those that you love to hit, and I absolutely, as much as I hated Brock Lesnar's part-time stuff, I also loved how much I hated him. And I think a lot of that was down to Paul Heyman.
Yeah, which Heyman's doing even better work. I mean, Heyman's work with Roman. I'm not a fan of Roman. I just not a fan of Roman Reigns. But the Heyman's work with Roman is amazing. Roman's work, as much as I like, there's a I don't hate him, right? He's not my type of wrestler, right? He's just
It's not
not
your cup
whatever.
of tea.
Right. But the fact of the matter, he is in fact doing the best work of his career. Like he
I,
is carrying that brand, right? And Heyman with
I
him,
absolutely agree.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I've never been a huge fan of Roman Reigns myself. I thought decent, got a good wrestler and does a decent job. As I said, still with WWE, I've not really been catching up with much newer WWE. I think the last thing I watched new was WrestleMania. I think I was halfway through WrestleMania last time we did a podcast. But I think this heel turn has been the absolute best decision for Roman, and I think, like as he says, work with him and has absolutely been the right decision for him. One thing I do like about Roman Reigns, though, I think his Superman punch looks brilliant. I think he gets
It
some great
does.
elevation and great snap, and
Yeah, and it's a legit move. Like there've been people in MMA that have hit it and
yeah, was it
KO'd people.
George St. Pierre,
Yeah, exactly.
the Superman? And you can't tell me it doesn't look like it would hurt, because as somebody who's been punched to the face, being punched to the face hurts.
No, those
And
are
when someone's got a jump and a snap on there, it's going to hurt you more. So yeah, it's got a degree of legitimacy behind that as well. So
no 100%. Yeah. So for me, Roman right now, he's kind of at a weird crux, right? Because I don't think we've seen the full evolution of Roman Reigns. Now, on one hand, you can basically go, oh my gosh, right? This is the first time a Polynesian, largely Polynesian based wrestler, because I believe it's like
yeah, I
Italian
think
and Samoan, right?
yeah, I think
This
it's
is
like
the first,
Italian, Samoan, with some Polynesian, maybe some
right?
Fijian in there. I can't quite remember.
Right, and this is one of the first times. I mean, maybe aside from his brother Matt, who is the superhero in trading, or you work out the acronyms, it's shit, right?
Yeah,
Um, but those two are the only like Polynesian wrestlers that aren't like even Samoa Joe, who's not in the Anawahi family, is Samoa Joe, right?
yeah,
And what have you. Roman is like non-Polynesian in his presentation up until now, right? With the shield, the SWAT, the Superman, the big dog, all these euphemisms, right? But then now he's kind of embracing his Polynesian culture
yeah, with the
in
tribal
this
chief and
right. But see, still keeps the damn the fatigue boots and the pants. Like what the hell?
yeah, I, I think I think it's probably quite a fine line to tread with that, especially now people are becoming more socially aware. I think if he was to start wearing more tribal inspired
Yeah.
things, um, I think that could go really well. But I think, as I said, with people being more socially aware, I think with if he was to go too far into it, it would be received quite badly. Um, so I think it would be a fine line to toe to go into the more island based look. I think he could carry it off, but I think it would be fine line to toe. And I think that goes with anything as well. Though, to be fair, I don't think it's just like culture. I think it would be like race, and it'd be like if Seth Rollins was to literally start calling himself the Pope, because he's starting doing the whole like this Monday Night Messiah thing, and if it would be very easy for him to go further into this kind of like religious, maybe slightly cultish character. But there would be a point where he would cross a line, and it would be like, no, this isn't good. We don't like this. This is offensive. So that line's always moving. That line's always moving. So it's I'm not sure I'd be able to do it.
Yeah, see, what's funny? Like, as the Shield, to me, I never really saw like the Roman. Like, of course, like he fits the archetype of what like a WWE wrestler is.
Yeah.
And originally slated when CM Punk actually pitched the Shield, he wanted Chris Hero in the Roman spot, but Vince didn't see it, right? So with that all being said, I think Ambrose, or now John Moxley, and maybe it's because I watched Moxley on CZW and the promos that we'd cut, like it pre NXT FCW, I was wanting Ambrose to basically feud with either William Regal and or Mick Foley, because they had teased it and whatever, and they didn't really go anything with it.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be
great.
I think Ambrose, the artist formerly known as Ambrose, he always had those comparisons to Mick Foley, or at least I heard a lot of comparisons to Mick Foley. So I think he could have got like both of them with Mick Foley back in his prime. He could have got a really good could have got a really good hardcore match there, because they could have done a lot of typical hardcore stuff, but they could have make it worth something. Because I think with a lot of hardcore matches now I've seen recently anyway, it's all about the weapons rather than the build up to the use of them. And I think both Moxley and Foley could have built up to the use of weapons and made those weapons, like the weapons being involved, worth something, and it could have been a really good series of matches, like having various stipulations surrounding the no DQ aspect of it.
Right.
And you could have had specific weapons involved, like Mick Foley always had these barbed wire bat.
Well, you know what's funny, right? So, what is your take on like the weapons kind of aspect of, to me, like I always felt like, if you needed a weapon of some sort, right, but also claimed you're a badass, like those two things don't, at least in my mind, match up. So
I mean, I kind of get that, and I kind of, part of me agrees, but also, I mean, I think when it comes to like fighting, I mean, yes, it's a work, but you're trying to present a wrestling match as like a fight between two guys. One guy's trying to beat the other. If it came to a point, like say, if I was unlucky enough to be in a bar brawl and a fight broke out, and there's a guy who's absolutely intent on smashing my face in, and there's a weapon within my reach to stop that from happening, I'm absolutely going to use it, because you've got to. In my hands, it's either them or me. But on the flip side, I've seen a lot of death matches being on the rise, where it's just weapon after weapon after weapon after weapon after weapon after weapon after weapon. And this isn't all what death matches are, but for me, like a hardcore match is whether it's not necessarily about weapons being involved or not. It's about how they get involved. Right. And I think I've seen a lot. I'm not saying all places, but in my personal experience, the ones I've watched, they don't build up to these weapon spots. It's just, oh, this is happening. Oh, by the way, here's a chair. Boom. Oh, yeah, by the way, here's a trash can. And I think it's something that should have, like, for me, it's like a finish. It should have something special surrounding it. It should be a big moment, a big spot in the match, something that means something. And I think a lot of the weapons in recent years, in a lot of motions, again, not all, it's not something special anymore. It's just something that happens. and I think that kind of takes away from it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what?
But I don't
So
think a weapon use stops someone being a badass. I think it should be a case of you use it because you might have something got in the way and you need to take back your advantage and there's a weapon nearby. Rather, I think if there's a weapon nearby and then you use it, I don't think that takes away from somebody's aura. I think if you're running away and then grabbing a weapon, then running back in and sneakily using it, that would take away from a badass aura. But I don't think using one that's nearby takes away.
So I guess let's say if you were booking a card, Anderson, right? And you had to place a weapons match. If it's a big blow off feud, is that the main event? And would you kind of bar any other matches from being a weapons match? Like you know how they do like TNA used to do the old lockdown kind of deal, or Hell in a Cell where
Yeah.
everything has to be in it. So do you think it loses its luster if you put like a hardcore weapons match not in the main event and not be the only thing of that ilk on the card?
Yeah, I mean, if you have like say, I absolutely think that a hardcore match or something that's very like weapons based, it should be like one of the the blow off part of a feud because that's when you throw absolutely everything in there. I think you can get away with a couple of matches that maybe have a gimmick attached to them, say a ladder match,
Right.
because the object of the match isn't the ladder, it's to climb the ladder and get the belt or the contract or to get the MacGuffin. Um, so I think something like a ladder match and maybe a cage match. Not a hell. I wouldn't say Hell in a Cell because I think that's a different kind of beast. But like a cage match because I think you can. Again, the cage is secondary to the match itself. It's a structure, and yes, it could get used occasionally in there. But the object is to make the cage part of the match, part of the gimmick, like scaling it, and then you maybe take a big fall off of it or whatever. So maybe I think two matches where there's another gimmick, say a ladder and a cage match. But I think like if you're having a hardcore match, it should be the blow off to a feud, and the weapons should absolutely be partially central to it because you're using absolutely everything, blowing off a lot of steam, making it look like a full-on legit fight in the middle of an alley or whatever. But I don't think it should just be weapon shot after weapon shot after weapon shot after weapon shot. I remember it was I think Spring Stampede '99. You had Hack versus Bam
Sandman.
Bam Bigelow. Yeah, Sandman. Yeah, it was Hack. You wrestled Hack in WCW, didn't they?
Right.
Yeah. But it was before the bell had even rung. There was. Don't get me wrong. I kind of enjoyed it at the time. I was a lot younger, but I kind of enjoyed it at the time. But before the bell had even rung, you've got Sandman / Hack ramming the trolley into Bam Bam Bigelow. Or was it the other way around? But anyway, it was just weapon, 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 weapon. Oh, let's do some wrestling. Weapon, 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 weapon. And fair enough, I'm not expecting if I'm watching a hardcore match, I don't want to necessarily see high spot or catch wrestling or tech or whatever. But I think when the sole focus is on the weapons and there's no real build up to the use of them, I think that takes away from it a bit for me personally. There's undoubtedly other people who disagree because I know people who love deathmatch wrestling and whatnot, but
No, and it's funny because that whole like WCW hardcore deal, I was kind of maybe a dumb adolescent, right? I didn't put together that Sandman was Hack and vice versa
you know what?
until
Neither did
after
I at the time.
right until after his WCW run and he came back as a Sandman. I was like, oh, and it wasn't like
Oh,
yeah, and it wasn't like there was like a physical change. Sandman and Hack
no.
are essentially the same person of a different
Well,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like I was like, and I think that what was AOL message boards. Those are and that's
Oh
assuming you had internet.
God, yeah. I I remember AOL message boards. God, I'm showing my age here now, and everyone had those just super lame nicknames. It sounded like something from like The Matrix. You've got like Apoc and Cypher and Neo here. I'm like, God, we were all so crap.
Oh, what we didn't know. Oh, what little we knew about what the actual internet was. But I mean, it's kind of the same, right? AOL message boards are essentially Reddit today.
Yeah, it was the Reddit of the day. Although I use Reddit to look at mainly funny memes and dogs, but that's pretty much what anyone uses anything on the internet for. I mean, there's other things, more of an adult nature, but
Yeah. See, maybe I don't know. I'm of a certain age where, and it's not even my age. It's just me. It's just me. We're like stories and TikToks and even like Reddit. Like all of them are like I don't know the first run of Pokemon in Japan and the flashing lights. All the you know elderly got fucking seizures and whatever. That's
yeah.
that's kind of how I feel watching like the flashing lights or even like the just the words of Reddit. Like these, at times it can be completely autonomous people just
I mean, I
writing
didn't know
whatever
what
the fuck.
TikTok was until like earlier this year.
Really?
I had no
Same.
idea what it was earlier this year. I'm like, have you got TikTok? I'm like, well, my clock makes that sound. I mean, I was like, and Snapchat, I've never used Snapchat in my life. I didn't. I'm, you know what? I'm still not entirely certain what the concept of Snapchat is, to be honest. And that's a really uncool thing to say, but I'm really not.
I have them. I have both the TikTok and the Snapchat, and it's more because like you heard about like JR's Twitter, the story of Jim Ross's Twitter, right?
Which one?
Well, basically that he was late in the game to adopt Twitter, so somebody went in and got official Jim Ross or whatever the hell he wanted to use, and when he wanted to get it back, I think something like $250,000 was what the guy wanted to charge him. So he's like, "Fuck that, whatever," and that's
Oof.
why he's at JRSBBQ, whatever, because somebody stole it. So I've got According to Woods on every social media platform. Now, do I utilize them all? No, but I don't want to be Jim Ross. Wait,
And
I do want to
that's,
be Jim Ross, but not in that
I mean,
that context.
of course, I mean, Jim Ross is the guy. I absolutely love Jim Ross. I think it sounds for me his commentating can really make match. I mean, especially like back in the day, like when I also one of the things that really sold me, like when I started loving Jim Ross, is when everyone knows like most wrestling fans, Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell,
Yes.
throws him off, and then the Jim Ross says, "By God, he killed him! By God, but as Lord as my witness, he's broken in half." And he absolutely just he sold commentary like Dolph Ziggler sells bumps. Yeah, he just absolutely just throws everything into it.
Yeah, no, and that's the like commentators, right? I think he might have said it, and a litany of others, where they're the soundtrack to the movie that's being played, right? And I feel lucky enough that I'm of a certain age where, like, I caught the tail end of Gordon Solie in WCW. I caught
Yeah,
Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, Monsoon and Ventura, or actually that would be Vincent Ventura, Vincent
yeah,
Piper, Vincent and Superstar Billy Graham, right? Like all of these, whatever, and then go into JR and King, Tony Schiavone. I'm a huge like the fact that like Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross are under the same banner
I,
with
I,
Taz.
yeah. People, and I know a lot of people are like, who are all in with either WWE or AEW, and goes, oh, I don't like AEW for this whatever reason. But could you imagine watching like WCW and WWF as it was at the time, back in like the Monday Night Wars, flicking through the channels, you hear Tony Schiavone speaking, and you hear Jim Ross speaking, and then can you imagine turning to your like mate on the side and goes, "Well, those two are going to be commentating together in 25 years." Cough, you know.
I was kind of like hoping, like I got goosebumps, right? Because Shivani, his re-entry, and I don't think Court Bauer gets enough credit for it, but his re-inclusion to pro wrestling, because obviously Shivani's making decent money, and has done for years, not just off the WCW, stuff, but also the fact that he's been, the commentator for minor league baseball down there in Georgia, right?
Yeah,
So, but it was Court Bauer and MLW that kind of coaxed him back, and then AEW poached him and whatever. But like that
yeah,
happened right around the same. Well, Jim Ross obviously was going to be the voice of AEW, right? But Shivani coming back to wrestling, I was like, maybe this will happen. And when
maybe.
it did, I fucking over the moon. Now,
Oh,
most people will
dude, I was.
criticize. Yeah, most people will criticize and what have you. But
I
for
think
me,
we can all criticize. We can all criticize something. I'm certainly not free of criticizing stuff myself. I do it, but I think you've got to look at things objectively. I mean, you've got two guys there who you could argue are the absolutely like the voices of wrestling. You could.
hmm?
I will not hear otherwise. Those two guys, in my opinion, were the voices of wrestling, and now you've got them calling this wrestling together. And for me, it is an absolutely brilliant thing, and I love hearing it. There'll be people who disagree with me, and that's fine. Bollocks to them. I
Yeah,
absolutely love the fact that you've got the two voices of wrestling under the same roof, calling the same action, and I think it's just. I never thought I'd say this again since like the Attitude Era or whatever, because that was my favorite era of wrestling. But it's becoming a time again. It was a great time to be a wrestling fan, not just a wrestler, but a wrestling fan. Because I always say, yeah, I might be on the other side of the barricade now, but I am first and foremost a fan, which is why I'll never apologize for getting excited about stuff to do with wrestling or seeing someone who's like a bit more famous or whatever. Because I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of guys in NXT UK, for example. I remember I went to a show called Elevation Wrestling. I was going. I wasn't on the card, however, because I say I'm still at a point now. I'm kind of refinding out who I am as a wrestler. I was saying when I was at training about 2 weeks ago that I'm starting from square 1.5, and that bummed me out a little bit. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I can. No, it's not like quite square one because I know all of the stuff. I'm just trying to shake off ring rust, rediscover who I am, and then I can get back to wrestling on shows again when COVID eases up. And Anderson North Graps at gmail.com for any bookers out there. um, no, but I was at the show, Elevation Wrestling, and that's ran by, and I've no Ivy and Visage both mentioned this guy Joseph Connors.
yeah,
Um, and I went down to the show and whatnot, and I met him, and only briefly. He would not be able to pick me out of a lineup because I was just some random guy at the time, and met him briefly, and I remember he shook my hand. He goes, you can tell a lot about a worker by the handshake, and I did that kind of fake, like we were kind of thing, and. After I ended up helping tidy up after like the show had finished and got back in the car. I think actually I drove down with Ivy, and I ended up driving back up with from Brady Phillips, who we had on recently.
yeah.
Um,
I love Brady and Ivy and Visage. They're just great,
at
much like
Visage,
you.
by the way, how stylish is Visage?
Just
Just
amazing, just
those glasses,
amazing.
I could not believe how stylish they were. Those sunglasses are amazing and really interesting. Like stories they had to tell. Um, I watched that. I managed to watch that live. And really interesting. I actually agree with them on their opinions about Lita. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, and back to the original point is after I shook his hand, I ended up tidying up and thinking to myself, I just met Joseph Connors. I saw him on TV, so like getting really excited. And I know that's a really uncool thing to say because, like, same as my gimmick as such, I'm a bit of a no nonsense fighter, and
Right.
the wrestling I've done very no nonsense, very nasty. I mean, so it's probably a really uncool thing to say, but I was excited. I'd met someone that I'd seen on TV. I'd met a wrestler and whatnot, someone I consider to be, reasonably, famous. And I often say that the moment I stop getting excited about stuff like that is the moment I won't want to wrestle anymore. Because for me, there's a lot of people got into wrestling started wrestling when they're younger, like 17, 18 years old. Me, I was 31 before I started. So I had a long time to build up like these images of people on TV. So every time I'm meeting somebody like that, I'm like excited and like. So I say I may be at a point now where I'm trying to pursue wrestling as extensively as I can, really. But I think once I start getting excited about meeting these cool people I've seen either on NXT UK or whatever, or on indie shows, the moment I stop getting excited about that, I think is the moment I want to stop. Because yes, I may be able to go backstage now, but I still wrestlers were my superheroes, So I think the moment they stop being superheroes to me is the moment I want to stop. Because at the end of the day, I would want to be somebody else's superhero too. I'm not saying that'll happen, but I would want that. So.
No, 1,000%. I am the same way, and there's people who I'm friends with that I have their action figures, and it's wild.
Well, it's like
it's wild.
I
cool.
I tweeted something about Ken Shamrock months ago. In fact, it was about this very action figure.
The Lions Den shirt one.
Yeah, Lions Den one, the bone crunching action.
Yes,
I posted that. Yeah, I posted that to Twitter because I got like, and Ken Shamrock himself liked it. It was probably like an automatic thing because he saw he was tagged in something and just clicked like. But I had like an algorithm to do it for him because I doubt the guy's got time to spend all of his time on Twitter. It probably never even gave it a second thought. But I texted like a friend of mine. Oh my God, Ken Shamrock's liked my tweet. That clearly means we're best friends now.
Yeah. I had something similar where it was Chris Van Vliet followed me on Twitter, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. And again, if you don't know who Chris Van Vliet, one of the premier in my eyes, interviewers and podcasters, not signed to any major company. Him and like Alicia Toot, those are two.
Yeah.
Chrissy Olsen too, with there's quite a bit of us, but like those three, right? Toot, Van Vliet, Olsen, those are kind of like, for right now, to not be attached to any major company, those are the people. And then obviously Renee Paquette,
yeah.
So when I got that follow back, I was like, and
it shows you like how like into something that you really are. I mean, like after I watched your Visage podcast, I went and followed them back on Twitter and Instagram, and then they ended up following me back. I'm like, oh, that's great. They followed me back. I'm like, that was awesome. That excited me, and I think if you're passionate about something, and you're lucky enough to do the thing that you are passionate about, it should excite you. And I know this is easy for me to say, but I think if you're not passionate about it, I think you should think about winding it down. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to make money from something. Of course they do. I mean, if someone offered me Brock Lesnar's like deal,
yeah,
to wrestle, of course I would take it. The guy was getting paid.
I'm literally going to push you. I'm that friend. I'm going to push you to sign, and I have pens in my pocket. Yeah. You're Anderson.
I mean, as a fan, yes, it's annoying, but as somebody who's got bills to pay and whatnot, if someone offered you, right, here is a humongous chunk of money to work a bit less, you're going to take it, are you? If my shoot job called up me now and said, right, we're going to take you off night shift. You have to work half as much, but we're going to pay you 4 times as much. Will you sign that contract? I'm like, You know what? I actually want to work more for less money, if you don't mind. I'd like to come in for unpaid overtime. I'd really enjoy that.
That's bonkers, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
bonkers.
you're not going. You're going to take it. And yes, I can. It's easy to be altruistic and go, oh well, he's only working part time. And I was one of those people that I got annoyed at because I'm still a fan. Yes, it's annoying, but if someone's offering me here, make money hand over fist, and you have to work less, shut up. Where do I sign?
Those are facts. Those are
Yeah,
facts. Oh my god. Oh man, and you know they did the same thing with, and I'll bring it up because Sting, right? Because when you were saying
yeah,
like, you know, when you stop loving something that you know, like that's when it's time to pack it in. Well, Sting, you know, as of a couple of years ago, he was said like I still get nervous of like damn near 40
yeah.
years
And
in the business. I still get
I
nervous
think we
every
actually
time.
talked about this last time as well. He's like, yeah, he's been wrestling like for 40, yeah, around 40 years. The guy's had a gazillion world title reigns. He's been at the top of the industry for a long old time, and he still gets nervous.
Hmm.
I think that. I mean, you can say what you want about Sting signing with AEW, whether Sting should be actively wrestling or not. But for me, I think that speaks a lot about not necessarily his character, but his love for the business. To me, that says
Yeah.
if you're still getting nervous, I mean, who in the right mind wouldn't be nervous if you're going out in front of a couple of, a few thousand people? But still, if you're still getting nervous about going out and doing something you've done for the large, like majority of your adult life, then that doesn't come from nowhere.
No, 100%. And I'm you don't. This is to me undisputable. Undisputable. Sting has never had a better theme song and entrance, like you know, aura around him than his AEW theme. Now, of course, you know, obviously the Crow deal or whatever, but like his theme music, like I have it on my workout playlist. It's fucking
Yeah, do
awesome.
you know what I like his theme music myself. I liked it. I think it's better. I don't know if it's his best. I think it's his joint best with his later WCW stuff, like kind of mysterious kind of Edgar Allan Poe kind of sound to it. But that's a personal thing. I think this is the yes. Actually, I think I probably would agree that it is the best out there. I think you can say a lot of them are great for different reasons. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I'm definitely over explaining myself. But
No, fuck no. That's what you do. Fuck. Because
it's like
people are
I've
gonna hit you up in the DMs and be like, "Why'd you say that?" So I think if you say that, covers your bases.
I've actually got Robert Roode's um, a tune on my budget workout playlist, the Glorious one. Because I'm like, I save that in particular for when I'm doing cardio. Because anyone who asks me, no, I absolutely hate cardio. I hate it with a hot fire, intense burning passion. If I could burn calories by eating pizza, if I could do anything to burn calories instead of cardio, I would do it. If someone said, right, you can burn 300 calories running for 10 minutes on the treadmill, it's nowhere near that. Or you could punch yourself repeatedly in your left testicle for the next 10 minutes. I would have to think about it. That's how much I would have to think about
But
it. But I
the
absolutely, for like the couple of minutes that Robert Roode's theme song is playing, I have to think about it. Otherwise, it's like it just starts. It's like glorious. Right, let's go.
and that guitar, the you know, like
Yeah,
it's all bits of fucking awesome. My goodness.
I
Which
think you could give that to like an 80s rock band and give it to them like as a stadium filler kind of song, like a halfway through kind of song, and they would just start with like the opening song starts glorious, lights it down, and the band comes on. It's like do do. I'm like, yes, the
oh,
show is happening.
oh, it's in the vein of Europe's a Final Countdown, right? The Final
Yeah,
Countdown.
it's very Europe, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very. I can just imagine that all the big like hairspray and whatnot, mullets, and they've got there with like the Gibsons, just like.
Do you have it favorite themes like theme music, theme entrances? Do you have any favorites?
um, I liked Goldberg's because I thought that was very fitting of what is it. It's like it was kind of like, oh shit, somebody's about to get their ass kicked, so and that very fitting with his. Do you know? Still love. Might surprise you because I'm a metal fan. I love Kofi Kingston's, SOS.
Give me shelter.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
just
like,
forgot what the other part of it. Give
yeah,
me
I did,
shelter. And then it
I
just.
understood, I only understood about 25% of whatever they were singing, but when it's like just a tune, it's like, yeah, I'm dancing along. Yeah, this is good, kind of. I mean, usually I listen to like a lot of like heavy metal and whatnot. I mean, I love my like anthemic like power metal. I mean, got these couple of friends, Lee and Kim, and Lee's actually did some ref and stuff. But we were frequent, like semi-frequently, we'll share something to do with some like cheesy, like anthemic power metal that we absolutely love. Um, Usually relating to like bands like you might not know some of them, but like bands like Manowar and
Yeah.
I did another one like Brothers of Metal and Battle Beast and stuff. So it's like a lot of cheesy anthemic power metal, and that's the music I generally usually kind of listen to. But then
You
something
mean?
will come along.
Well, I was
Sorry.
gonna say you mean the band Manowar, not Aldo Montoya, right?
Yeah. I mean the band Manowar. but but yeah, it's just occasionally sometimes like the Kofi Kingstons will come and I think, yeah, I could dance to this. Very reggae. It's very. I could stick that on while having a barbecue and people are like, oh, who did this?
Yeah. You know what? Oh, so I've, I mean, I don't like doing like top tens or whatever, but like I will
Mm.
say like some of my favorite, right? Obviously Bret Hart's, that dun 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 dun,
Yeah.
amazing, right? One that I think doesn't get a lot of love, right? Owen's theme song, the Rocky,
Yes.
the
Agreed.
old hype.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like a funky. It's
Yeah.
sick.
Um, I obviously I'm a huge Motorhead fan as well, so obviously I love like Triple H's like the game, and I thought Evolution was a good one as well. But I said that's probably more down to me being a massive Motorhead fan. I'm one of those people that Motorhead can do no wrong. Everything they do is absolutely amazing. You will not convince me otherwise.
I've got a Lemmy Pop, like a Funko Pop, like
Awesome, nice.
yes,
I
it's Lemmy.
I kind of bumped into Lemmy at a gig I went to years ago. Like I was maybe in my early 20s, so like more than 10 years ago. But it was like walking to the bar and kind of knocked into each other because he mustn't have had enough Jack Daniels backstage or something. And he's like, sorry. And I'm like, it's Lemmy. It's Lemmy. Absolutely
Fuck.
starstruck. Just seeing Lemmy like amongst normal people, us mere mortals. Um,
Lemmy is immortal. Like he's one of those.
I'm not convinced he's Rex. He supposedly, here's the conspiracy theory here for you. He supposedly died like at 70 years old. I'm like, I don't believe this for a second. I think he's just taking some time off. Nothing can kill Lemmy. Lemmy is immortal.
So no, I like it. I prefer Lemmy more than Hulk Hogan in terms of immortality, right? So that's a lot to unpack there. But
And
uh,
Lemmy's mustache is better.
yeah, oh yeah, way better, way better. Which of the Motorhead themes for Triple H, do you like the Bow Down to the Game, or do you like the King of Kings?
I'd say probably like the Bow Down to the Game one.
That's the fucking one.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's on my gym playlist as well. And I think my gym playlist is getting longer than my actual liked songs now. Um, but yeah, that is absolutely a great song to work out to, especially if you're feeling like particularly energetic and you've picked up like some good old weights or whatever. I'm like, yeah, bow down to me. I'm lifting all the things.
Yes. Oh fuck yeah! But although with the game theme, I love the there's the drum beat, like it's like a drum, pop ba da,
Yeah,
and that's at the point where Triple H like does the spot with the water and shit like that,
yeah. Where it's a
whatever.
dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun.
yeah, but that ba, 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 like it pops me every fucking time. Like I don't like the song overall, right? But like that part, I fucking pop every
Yeah,
time. Just the nuance.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. You know what? I think I'm gonna crack open a beer tonight and just go through all these wrestling tunes. Like, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great.
oh yeah. Oh fuck it. I Shinsuke Nakamura has never had a bad theme song ever.
He hasn't. I'm thinking back to like all like the work he's never had a bad theme song ever. I, I mean, I like Shinsuke Nakamura as well, but I think, and I might get a lot of hate for this, but I think you can tell that his time in the WWE are his money years.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I mean, the guy's what 43, 44, so he's earned like the right to be like, in his money years and maybe wind down his career a little bit. I'm not judging him for it, but I think it would be dishonest to say that he's having the best matches of his career.
Yeah.
I loved his time as the artist back in, was it All Japan or New Japan?
New Japan.
Yeah, it was New Japan. But yeah, his time as like the artist, I thought he was doing like brilliant work there, brilliant wrestling, just all that. After, I don't think he is possibly doing his best work in WWE. I think he is like doing it. These are his, a steady paycheck, his money years, and more power to him. I think they come to everybody. I think as one of the people who was looking forward to seeing him in like regularly on American soil, on Western soil, his run's not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, 100%.
And not saying his wrestling's been bad, because
No.
it's Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, to me, in term, like he's the reason why I bought New Japan World. Like when it first came out, I was just like, whatever.
Absolutely.
But Nakamura, that sold it for me. Yeah, take my $8.99 US a month.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, that's it. And that Rising Sun theme song, I believe it's called. There's a gal on YouTube that is a violinist, right? And she did that version. She did a cover with like a full band, and it fucking rips. It rips so fucking hard, right? Then
Do you know? I was walking through a city called Leeds. It's about 30 or so miles from where I live. It's in a different part of the county, but I was walking through Leeds city centre, and there was, as you get with quite a lot of big cities, at least over here, there was quite a lot of buskers around playing various instruments, singing, whatever. And there was a violin player, and I was talking to my friend at the time. I'm like, listen to the violin man. And the was like, what are they? What? I'm like, shut up. Like, I swear that's Shinsuke Nakamura's theme tune. I couldn't quite tell for certain, but it sounded very familiar. But I was there shushing my friend to stop crying. I'm like, who's Sanisuke Pokemon Nura or whatever? I'm like, Shinsuke Nakamura, you Philistine. But I could swear I heard his violinist, but if it wasn't his theme tune, it was bloody close to. And obviously, I loved that. That set me up for the day.
no, oh man, and that's a piece of music that if you took it out of context and you never watched wrestling or whatever, that is something that if somebody put on, you know, the radio or at a live kind of like a busking situation, it'll stop you in your tracks. It's a
It's
wonderful
one of
piece of
those
music.
kind of like I was said, like Bobby Roode's theme song. You could give that to like a stadium rock band and use it as their opener, and it would not sound out of place. You could give Shinsuke's tune to probably somebody who does like quite a lot of like
Like
dance style music,
Evanescence
like club stuff.
or
Yeah, you
Trans
could give it
Siberian
to quite.
Orchestra.
Yeah, you could give it to a cute few. You could give it to a DJ and they could overlap it onto some club music. You could give it to like maybe a gothic kind of rock band as well and overlap that, and it wouldn't sound out of place.
Nope, not one iota. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Which I actually wanted to get your take because we were talking about like Japan, New Japan, right? Um, Osprey. Osprey wins the New Japan IWGP Championship, then gets injured. What? Oh God, the sneezes got me.
Bless
Good
you.
God. Thank you. But no, so what is your take on the situation? Like, what was the reaction of Osprey? You know, basically getting the strap, getting a major run, and then having to vacate.
Oh, do you know? I'm in kind of two minds about him winning because I'm not personally like he's not one of my go-to watch wrestlers. I mean, I
Right.
think he's very talented. He's an extremely talented wrestler. He's a good wrestler, and there's good reason for people to lose their minds about Will Ospreay. And I'm not gonna say, oh, that guy, oh shit. He's clearly not shit. I was never like a massive fan.
Right.
I liked some of his spots and whatnot, but I was never a massive fan. I think it's likely it's good. I think a run would have been good for him, and I wouldn't have been angry about it.
Yeah.
Um, Getting injured, I'm surprised he didn't have a vacatable injury sooner. Not because he's clumsy or anything like that, but he does do a lot of high risk spots and high risk moves. So I think an injury at some point was, I don't want to say inevitable, but fairly likely. It was just unfortunate for him that it was at a point where he like won NJPW's big one. So I think it's unfortunate for him. But I don't wish bad on like any wrestler really. So I'm kind of, obviously hope he recovers. Hope it's not
Yeah.
career threatening, and I hope it is pushing to recovery.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I shudder to think what Ricochet over in the WWE, who can't really fucking get like he can't fucking get out of a fucking wet paper bag. This guy, unfortunately,
And
you know,
it's,
Vince doesn't see him,
I,
right? And you
yeah,
know,
and I think that's he's had to. I mean, Doug Aaron's still is athletically really gifted, but I do think he made. I mean, this is easy for me to say. Obviously, a guy who wrestles on like the British independent scene who has to work a regular job alongside that. I think he possibly chose the wrong route with WWE. I don't think it was very. I think it's WWE is a bit safe for somebody who wrestles like Ricochet does. I saw him wrestle. I think I saw him wrestle Rey Mysterio. I think it was at a Defiant show.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Pretty certain, yeah.
yeah.
And it was like watching. I mean, it was like watching a completely different Rey Mysterio and a completely different Ricochet. That's absolutely amazing match. Obviously, a lot of high flying stuff and whatnot, which I think for guys like Rey Mysterio and Ricochet, absolutely it's what you pay to see with them. But it was like watching two completely different wrestlers. I think that's because WWE for me, like for guys with more necessarily a bit of a more high flying offense, WWE is
Mm-hmm.
like a very, very, very safe space now because I don't like pile drivers anymore. So I think
Well,
possibly not the best place to showcase the talents. Good for like a steady paycheck for your money years, but not necessarily the best place to showcase.
well, you know, it's funny because the style of a Ricochet or Will Osprey, right, versus Mysterio. Like Mysterio can look like, I mean, one of the great, arguably the greatest high flyer that there's been, um, and arguably the most well renowned, lucha libre wrestler. Kind of taking
Yeah,
the seat from El Santo and Mil Mascaras before him, right? But
yeah,
the fact of the matter is, their skill set in Osprey and Ricochet are so next level that they make Rey Mysterio look like a mat based wrestler.
I think, yeah, I would agree with that until a point, and maybe it's me being a bit biased because I'm a huge Mysterio fan, but I think that they are obviously extremely similar in terms of the high flying abilities. I think like people like Ricochet and Will Ospreay, their high flying moves tend to be involved in spots, whereas Rey Mysterio's is moves.
Yeah,
I'm not saying one's worse than the other. I think that just that it tends to be Ricochet and Will Ospreay will incorporate like high flying moves more into spots, whereas it's kind of Rey Mysterio's tend to be like individual moves, and it's not. I don't think. I think if I don't think either could do either well. I mean, you're not going to get Rey Mysterio doing any of like Ricochet or Will Ospreay's spots, especially now. I mean, he's not the guy's not getting any younger. He can still He's still fantastic, but obviously there's a point now where his body's not going to hold out for much longer
right.
wrestling the style that he does. But
Which
yeah,
which I mean, you're a Rey Mysterio fan, right? So this, and I am too, right? I might have a replica belt with his signature on it. He's one of the most down to earth people that there are, and a literal walking legend. But
yeah,
what is your take on his booking thus far? This run, because theoretically speaking, this run has been about getting Dominic over. The reason why he resigned after that couple years sabbatical, which saw him in
yeah,
Defiant, saw him, in New Japan, in Lucha Underground, right? The reason he came back was to kind of close out his career and then usher in Dominic. Now, we've seen him lose an eye, have his
yeah.
family put into, kind of a storyline. And then Dominic is not, at least for me, Dominic doesn't do anything for me. Like, he's a bigger Mysterio, right? But not
Yeah.
a high flyer. But then he's bigger and he's not a body guy. So
It's. I think for me with Dominic, I think it's too early in
oh
for
yes,
me to really form a full opinion. And I think my opinion on like Ray's booking, I don't think it's really been about booking Ray. I think it's been about Ray getting Dominic over and then booking Dominic, and Ray just happens to be there.
yeah.
Um, I do believe I can only see my face now. That's this concern. But
No,
yeah,
you're good. Yeah,
I
no.
think it's been more. I think it's about getting. I think Ray's booking's been very intertwined with Dominic's, and I think Ray is there because he is a veteran of the business, and I think he's there to nudge Dominic in the right direction. And
Yeah, and I want to believe, right? Like, I don't want to crap on Dominic, but so um because they did a similar thing with Dusty and Dustin, right? And look at the
yeah,
wrestler that Dustin Rhodes is, right? And they did that deal with like Ted DiBiase and Virgil, and my boy, not my boy, and
yeah,
I mean, it's great, and shows like you know the the believability of one Dusty Rhodes, right? And that's one of the reasons why he's great, right? But at least Dustin had, he had done bookings in Florida, and then after that WWF run, he went back to Florida and then ended up in WCW later. You know, he was at least seasoned a little bit. For Mysterio, for Dominic to kind of be here, like I think he could have benefited. And it's funny because I was just at a show on Sunday with uh, with Carlistico, the original Sin Cara or Mystico,
yeah,
right? And that guy could have benefited from being in the NXT, right? But he was brought to the same roster. Now, obviously, you know, Mystico's Carlistico original Sin Cara was a lot more tenured than one Dominic Mysterio, but I think in both the situations they would have benefited more from maybe, an NXT run.
yeah. I think personally, I think with WWE, they've got the Performance Center and NXT and whatnot. I think it would have been more beneficial, like a logical sense, to have him in NXT first and have like um, a bit of a maybe a part-time role with NXT and focus a lot on like honing himself in the Performance Center, and then think about moving him up to like a program with Rhea where he wins the tag titles and whatnot. And I think, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the tag title, and I think it's kind of a cool thing to have, father and son tag team. And I think having Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio, it's great to say. I'm a Rey fan, and I love to see Rey doing well. Um, yeah, I think it got them going straight onto like the main roster, if you like, was possibly not a move I'd make for them. I mean, I'm not the head of $1 billion corporation, so
That's true. That's true. Most people are praying for Disney to come in and save the day.
well, they own just about everything else.
Yeah, they say that's because especially now they've got the. I don't know if you guys get it there, but they have this show on a channel like WWE's Most Wanted Treasures, where they go and pick out artifacts from WWE, history, and
Uh,
it's like, what is it? What the American Pickers or Antiques Roadshow is,
yeah,
but centered on wrestling. So I think at some point they want a physical Hall of Fame. Disney World in Florida, and especially WWE's base of operations at the current moment in this COVID time is in Florida.
it's
I think
yeah.
that's it.
I think it's. I mean, definitely not out of the realms of possibility, is it? Because both are headquartered like in Florida. I mean, I know technically WWE's headquartered in is it Stanford,
Right.
but yeah, it's like the base of operations at the moment is Florida because that's where the Performance Center is. And I don't think it's out of the
Yeah.
realms of possibility.
Yeah. So
Would that make Rhea Ripley and like whatnot a Disney princess?
I think so. I'd say she would be more because at one point they were, and I think it's brilliant. Um, but Disney was maybe larger than a minority shareholder in Hot Topic, which is fun when you think about it. When you think about it, because um, you get children, right? The girls want to be princesses and everything like that, right?
Yeah,
So Disney, right? And then as they get into adolescence and teen years, oh, they want the bad boy and whatever. So Hot Topic. So they have like built literally an entire like generation of patrons.
yeah. They're making money no matter what generation you're in. It's like
Yeah,
you're a kid and you want all the Disney princess stuff. Here you go. And you're now having like your teenage crisis. Got that too.
yeah.
I mean,
It's really masterful. It's and when you think about it. But yeah, so Rhea Ripley would be the hot topic kind of, that's it. And I
yeah,
think she's got her gear, her merch. Like her and Tony Storm, they have their merch in Hot Topics like right now. You can go on a Hot Topic
yeah.
website and find it.
Well, it's because I think that's happening like in a lot of places as well. With not just with, like, you've got like wrestling. You can find wrestling gear in places like Hot Topic, and over here we've got like a cheap clothes store called Primark. I don't know if you're aware of it,
Okay, yeah.
but you can find like Motorhead and Slayer t-shirts in Primark. Like, like when I was listening to these, like when I wore these t-shirts as a teenager, it made me a weirdo. But now you can buy them in Primark, and it looks cool.
It's it's weird to me as somebody of color, right? And I would get accosted because I wore like an Aussie Blizzard of Oz shirt or whatever, right? And people didn't get it. Now, going, in the mall, you pre-COVID, there are people of color that are
Yeah,
wearing Iron Maiden t-shirts and everything like that, and you're like, oh, what's your favorite Maiden song? And they couldn't tell you one, whatever. It just looks cool. Like everybody,
Hell,
wears metal shirts and rides skateboards?
I played I was in a band briefly when I was like younger, and I did bass and vocals. But the lead guitarist is half Pakistani,
Oh wow.
and the amount of like, times that people go, oh, you don't really like that, you're just a poet, you don't like that, bet you like this. I'm like, dude, I literally played guitar with him like yesterday afternoon. He knows his shit.
So I want to know how many members were you guys a trio? Or were you guys a power trio?
No, we were a four piece. They had there was me on bass and vocals. There was two guitarists, and um, there was a drummer. I, I, I I was maybe 19, 20 years old at the time, so quite a few moons ago.
Now,
I enjoyed
do
it.
you
Don't
know
get me wrong,
why?
I quite enjoyed it.
Do you want to know why I wanted you guys to be a power trio?
Motorhead. Oh
Three
god,
man band, baby.
three three man.
Because he's half
I mean, yeah,
Pakistani. That's
yes, we were a trio. Just one of the members was invisible.
yes.
That's why we were a trio, obviously.
I completely
I
love that one.
no, I enjoyed it, but I don't think my future was ever going to be in music. I'll be honest. I was never going to be filling out stadiums as a front man of a metal band.
Dude, that the way that you said it, um, have you seen Tommy Boy with Chris Farley?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, you have to see it. I might
I,
send me your Addy, and I'm gonna send you the DVD. But like, there's a moment where he's like, because you said lead singer, like the tune. It was like lead singer in a metal band, right? It reminded me of Chris Farley wearing David Spade's jacket and going, "Fat guy in a little coat," and he's doing this bit, and then he rips the coat and just I don't know. That's where my
I,
brain goes.
don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. There was one point where I had three bass guitars, so um, but as I just don't think as a frontman or bass player, I don't think I was never going to make it in music, and they want to. It was just something I did for fun. So it's just being a rocker, being somebody who's into metal. I quite like the idea of playing in a metal band, and I did briefly. So
Yeah. Oh man.
I actually had long hair at the time as well. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, since my
Like
hair was
you don't
well
have it
past my
now?
shoulder.
You don't have
Well,
your long hair now?
Mother Nature kind of took hold. My hair started receding, and it looked like my hairline was running away from me. So I decided
You
just
had me
shave it
fooled.
all off.
You had me fooled.
It's all gone down to my face now, so it's just migrated.
Hey, you got to do it. Yeah, that's why I keep mine short. Is like if I ever go bald or thinning, like it wouldn't make too much of a difference. And I've had the same hairstyle since I was like 16. So,
I,
like,
if I was to grow my hair now, my hairline would start like here. So
ooh, okay, yeah,
yeah, it's
that's
not a good
awesome.
look.
That'd be almost Baron Corbin esque, right? The skullet.
Yeah, exactly. I actually, yeah, I remember I just got out of the shower one day, like a couple of weeks before I decided to, shave it all off, and I tied my hair up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that needs to get cut, cause I'm like, that's,
That's fun. That's damn man, dude. You're amazing. You're just amazing. But for those who want to follow Anderson North, as things starting to open up again, you're back in the gym, it's clanging and banging, right? All those plates and steaks and the barbell plates and all that jazz. But for people that want to get more Anderson North, where can they find you, good sir?
they can find me on Instagram at Anderson North underscore or raps. Twitter, Anderson North 87. I am also searchable on Facebook as Anderson North Wrestler. If you want to get in touch with me about any inquiries, whether that be about wrestling or podcasts or any other opportunities, that would be Anderson North Anderson North Raps at gmail.com. All of that is available on my various social medias.
Yes. I followed him. You shall too. And he's one of the funner followers that there are. You will be rewarded with your patronage of following with all of the fantastic things and thoughts that basically encompass the space between his ears, and it's amazing.
You should all follow Adam Woods back as well. Tell me, what are your handles as well? Where can we find you?
According to Woods across the board, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where you can find this fight podcast. And then on the socials, same deal, according to Woods, and you get podcasts and memes. Like, hopefully, non-threatening dad memes, because I'm a dad, like memes, whatever. So you're either going to get podcasts, you're either going to get memes. You might get both on the same day. Just saying. Just saying. Hell yes.
Follow Adam Woods, follow Anderson North.
Hell yes. And thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, those are our socials, and go ahead and follow us. But if you don't believe me or Anderson, and I don't know why you wouldn't, well, here's Zeta Zhang to help convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe